Majority Leader McCarthy called this one out a long time ago. He told us what the game plan was, and he was part of one of the folks who established this committee. And he said basically this was to bring down the poll numbers of Hillary Clinton. This has been one of the saddest exercises I've ever engaged in my 20 years in Congress.
The Hillary Clinton camp may be celebrating this day, convinced that what is supposed to be the absolute final and we're never going to ever have to go here again because we have all the facts we will ever need to know report on the tragedy in Benghazi did not start out by pointing a single finger at their boss and saying it was all her fault. But this will be a very short party, and it's back to work seeking to change the one they cannot change about the likely Democratic presidential candidate. But will this be enough to get anyone to walk away from Hillary or walk towards her when they get that one chance in November? Let us reveal all. Dig deeper into the final bipartisan word on politics of all shapes and sizes. Around the dial, 630 KHOW in Denver, Colorado, home of one of the great steakhouses downtown at the Keg and one of the finest adult imbibing establishments at Jackson's. And fear not, I am not leaving any hints as to where this next guest and I will one day soon gather for a revelatory conversation on the iHeartMedia tab. Hint,
Sooner
hint.
than later, I hope.
Afternoon Drive insider of opinions and former director of FEMA, Michael Brown. It's terrible when the host knows exactly where all the hangout places are, isn't it? Hey, listen, let's get to this here and the report today and be serious on this, because the report comes out. Hillary Clinton says it is time to move on. And the general consensus is here, Mike, no bombshells. It didn't specifically aim the finger at Hillary Clinton. It talked about the administration and those around her. So did she dodge the political bullet today?
Oh, I don't think she dodged the bullet in the sense that this is going to go away. I don't think it's ever going to go away any more than any mistakes that were ever made in the Bush administration ever go away. These things linger on forever. People get set in a narrative, and that narrative tends to stick. And I think in this case, the narrative basically is everybody was asleep at the switch. And I mean everybody. Everybody in the White House Situation Room was Leon Panetta. For the life of me, I would still like to know the answer to this question. How is it that the Secretary of Defense orders the movement of assets and they don't get moved? Because you're talking to a guy who one time asked for the movement of assets and they didn't get moved. And it wasn't until 2 years later that I actually found out the truth about that.
I was just going to say that you have some real experience here when it comes to a dilettante bunch of politicians who basically sit and do absolutely nothing. They did it to you. You caught the hammer for it. And here we are doing it again. And this is going to lead people. Don't you think that the big question here should be, all right, look, Hillary Clinton was at fault. She has to share part of her blame in this. So does President Obama. So does the Pentagon. So do all the politicians down the line. How many times and how many lives have to be cost before somebody actually changes things and makes it all work?
Well, it's never going to work because it's the inherent nature of government. Look, I've sat in that White House Situation Room when I'll never forget. In fact, it was probably either my first or second time there. Everybody was going around the room. Secretary Rice was conducting the meeting at the time. And I remember there were some really stupid things being said by some people at the table. And I kind of kept looking to my left and my right, like, is nobody ever going to point out how stupid this is? And finally, me being me, just raised my hand and said, with all due respect, why are we discussing XYZ when the real issue is ABC? It's the inherent nature of government to sit and be cautious, not break the rules, stay within their little box, and not get out of it because that's the safe thing to do.
Cover your derriere.
Exactly.
I mean, that really seems to be what we're talking about here. So do you think that obviously Donald Trump and the GOP is going to hammer away? They're going to continue to hammer away at Hillary Clinton on the Benghazi issue. But do you think it will have as much effectiveness after this report, which basically came out and said, we're not pointing one finger, we're pointing fingers at a lot of people?
Yeah, it won't have that great. This isn't the smoking gun. This isn't the nuke that's going to go off. I think on the margins, there are still some people. I mean, believe it or not, I really believe there are some people out there who are still undecided about both Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. I can't imagine, like what rock they're living under, but they are still there. They're still wondering. And on the margins, this will tip a few people to Trump's side, and it will cause a few Hillary supporters to maybe question, well, maybe I have to hold my nose to cast this vote.
All right, now this is part of her record, so let's talk about that here. Dick Morris, the veteran political strategist, spoke earlier today on the differences between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump and their abilities to fix some of these election problems. Here's what he said.
At this point, I would give them about a 50-50 chance each. The nice thing about Trump is that he can fix all of his problems by what he says. Hillary cannot fix her record by what she says. I talk about how she was almost indicted twice and skated on the merest of technicalities. She's lied about everything in her life. When I knew her, she was not obsessed with money. Now she seeks power in order to make money.
Mike, let me get your take on all that. He, meaning Donald Trump, can fix all of his problems by what he says. Hillary cannot fix her record by what she says. Does seem to make sense.
It does make sense, but let's look at it from a practical point of view. I'm sitting in Colorado in a battleground state, and I very specifically last night, I don't normally watch a lot of TV, but I'm batching it right now. So I got home from my radio program last night. I turned on one of the local news stations. It was one of the major networks, and I just left it there to listen. I heard 5 Hillary Clinton spots, 3 of which were different. I heard 0 spots from Donald Trump. So as much as Dick Morris is right that Donald Trump can get things accomplished by saying things, he will never, through earned media, reach the people like I represented last night, just sitting in front of the television, just watching whatever, and I couldn't even tell you what was on, but watching whatever was on. He's not reaching those people, and he'll never reach them. So Dick Morris is right. He can change things by speaking things, but he's going to have to do it through traditional methods like political advertising.
And does he not need to say things and stick to it? We've talked about this before. He is backpedaling now on this ban of Muslims from the United States. He has never said he was wrong about the temporary Muslim ban or explicitly said he was abandoning the policy. Quite frankly, let's be honest here. He cannot seem to make up his mind. Doesn't he have to stick with one thing, say this is it, end of story, and walk away from this ridiculous, constant waffling?
Well, okay, let me just say one thing. I'm never going to vote for Hillary Clinton, so I feel free to criticize Donald Trump. The problem with Trump is I don't believe, based on everything I've read about him, that I've studied about him, he has no core principle political beliefs. And that's very, very dangerous because that means whatever pops in your mind comes out and it's spur of the moment. And I think the American people are smart enough to know someone. Look, we know what Hillary Clinton's core political beliefs are. They're very far left, they're progressive, they're liberal. But when you look at Trump, we want to believe he's conservative. We want to believe he's libertarian. We want to believe he has these core beliefs, but we can't find anything to hang our hat on because it's a constantly moving target.
20 seconds in. In your opinion, the opinion of many, they want Donald Trump. Find a belief, stay with it, don't change because you're opening yourself up for this kind of attack that will cost you an election.
Look, just as a political scientist, as a guy involved in politics since he was 10 years old, I would like to see him just find an issue and articulate something really good on that issue, and that becomes a core belief that I can say, there's something that Donald Trump believes in, and he's believed in it for the past 40 years, and he's sticking to it. Wouldn't that be great?
It's what Republicans are craving right now as we head towards the convention in November. By the way, tell the young ladies at the keg I said hi. 6:30 KHOW in Denver, weekday afternoons. Make sure you check it out. Do it online as well. Michael Brown, always a pleasure, my friend. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll talk to you soon. Those years in Denver and the stories those streets could tell. Rock on, true believers. Thanks for joining us. See you tomorrow. Good night and good luck.
We, the people of the United States,
in order to form a more perfect union,
establish justice,
ensure domestic tranquility,
provide for the common defense,
promote the general welfare,
and secure the blessings of liberty
to ourselves and our posterity,
do ordain and establish this Constitution
for the United States of America.